Now, some of you may have actually started watching this channel from a video I posted not too long ago talking about why so many people are leaving Florida. And the video actually started off, we were at a marina boarding our boat for the day. It was a pontoon boat that we had set up with Freedom Boat Club, which is a boat club that we're members of that gives us access to all sorts of boats all over the country and out of the country, internationally in some places. And we were going to, it was a weekend that we had set up for a birthday party for G.I. Justin and his family, his daughter. And so that's how the video started. We ended up out in the Intracoastal, heading to the bay, spending some time in Crab Island, Noriego Point, the Destin Harbor. It was a great time. But that video was not necessarily to highlight and pinpoint just how many people are leaving Florida based on the visual that I had witnessed at the marina and actually having spoken to the folks that work in that area that had said that they were seeing a lower volume of boats docked than normal. The key to that video was really the fact that people were leaving everywhere. And granted, people are going to be leaving and people are going to be, arriving. So it's kind of like six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a change. There's going to be a switch. And typically what it is it's a transition. It's a transfer of wealth, so to speak, this K-shaped recovery that, economists and experts and analysts on TV are going to talk about till they're blue in the face. But that's pretty much it. And now we are seeing it happen again, or at least the beginnings of it happening in Hawaii. Now, this is just my opinion, so do not take this as fact. And if you want to go even further in this conversation, then by all means, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is below. And while we're on the subject, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing to the channel is actually 100% free. So it costs you nothing to do it. So just go ahead and click that little button, all right? And then pound it. Appreciate that. However, they're doing it again. And the people who are leaving, whether they are just people themselves and or the businesses, the people associated with the business, tied to the businesses, there's a reason behind it. So, for instance, we had this conversation last September, now that I think about it, and I remember that because we were actually at it was an Airbnb, or it was Airbnb. It was an Airbnb that we had rented. And it was a house. It was like a 3-story house. It slept like 16. And we booked this house for my daughter's birthday because the whole family was coming down. Well, I had taken time to go to the pool in the morning when no one was there and have this discussion and conversation with you last year about inflation and about surviving inflation and doing what you could and how to prepare for a coming recession and a decline and, impacts to your income and your discretionary spending and your savings and your available credit and your business and everything. So basically what it boiled down to was inflation were rising tides, basically. And in a flood situation, those on the lowest floors are going to see and feel the most pain from the flood. So you essentially try to rise to higher ground. And that is a fight or flight basic response, of survival and self-preservation, which a lot of people are in right now, but they're being forced to be in this position. And here's why. The cost of living is going up. The cost of living is going up everywhere. So this is going to be uniform across the board. Now, the amount and the scale and the percentage of this increase may vary depending on your hyper-local market. But at the end of the day, everything costs more today than it did a year ago and a year before that, and so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? So basically, whether it's Florida, whether it's Texas, whether it's Idaho, whether it's Georgia, whether it's California, whether it's Nevada, Washington, Arizona, New York, it doesn't matter. As people begin to feel the squeeze and be pushed out, they have to find higher ground. And this higher ground is, in this instance, going to be more affordable, lower price cost of living, housing, rent, everything that goes into your monthly budget. they're going to have to find a solution. So in areas like Florida's not cheap. Now, there may be some areas of Florida that are definitely more affordable than others, but in the hot spots that are typically making the news and the headlines that you see on other YouTubers' videos about people leaving Florida, those areas are not super cheap. Even Panama City Beach, which is relatively affordable for one of the more popular areas that people may want to live in Florida, is still going up in price. And again, this is part of the whole big picture, the pandemic, these shortages, the labor issues, the post-pandemic recovery, the Fed raising interest rates, banking concerns and issues, and liquidity drying up, and credit and lending drying up, interest rates going up, making borrowing money more expensive, as well as just every other input as a variable that will ultimately have an impact on you directly or your customers that will then impact you indirectly, and so on and so forth. Before we even get into the stock market, the cryptocurrency market, what's happening with XRP and Cardano and AMC and Bitcoin, and then the automotive industry, which the automotive industry is actually coming up upon the expectation and anticipation based on projected figures that there's going to be a surplus of vehicles at the end of the year that do not sell. So things are changing, folks. Okay. So with that being said, these all then culminate into real estate. And we're now in this reverse housing market crash, which all that's doing is continuously driving prices up. And as the prices go up, the people have to leave, usually, depending on the people. Okay. So when they say people are leaving, it's probably the people who were probably teetering on the edge, barely able to kind of like survive in their area after, rent increases and homeowners insurance increase, policy premium increases, and maybe even some reductions to their pay, but then an increase in their monthly budget and expenses just from utility expenses and buying food and gas. It's all going up. So they're leaving, essentially trying to find somewhere else that they can still work and produce an income, but find a much more affordable means of living, basically, and this could even be finding some raw land and building a tiny home or a tiny house, or maybe putting an RV on it, depending on the municipality and the building codes that allow you, the ordinances that would allow you to do that, or maybe even finding a way to live out of their car full time, live out of their truck, their van, maybe even, find more people to live with to split the costs. And this is happening in Hawaii because I read a story about a young man in Hawaii, Lahaina, and he said that he has a one bedroom out of this house or wherever he lives still costs him $1,000 a month just for one bedroom. Now, granted, he's going to have a shared space in the kitchen and, the bathroom or whatever it may be, but he really has a room. He's $1,000 a month with at least 3 roommates, probably. And herein lies the problem, because the problems that they are experiencing are the same problems that we have experienced in Fort Myers for last year, Key West, the Florida Keys last year, multiple parts on the Atlantic coast of Florida last year, and other areas of the country that have all been through this before. And what it boils down to is the post-hurricane, the post-natural disaster, the post-climate change, weather event, and in this instance, wildfire recovery is going to drive out those who were on the edge, living paycheck to paycheck, just barely getting by in these areas. It's going to drive them out intentionally from the start, because there's nowhere for them to stay. But once things do get rebuilt back better again, which I don't really like using that term, but okay, they're not going to be able to come back. Plain and simple. They're not going to be able to come back, which could potentially create this catastrophic imbalance, because everything's going to need employment of people. So they're going to have to find that sweet spot of how they're going to find people to be able to work and fill these positions, but also be able to afford to commute close enough to work and fill these positions. These resorts and these condos and these expensive luxury apartments, they're not going to run themselves, and the people who can afford to live there aren't going to do that work. That makes sense. And basically that's it. Unfortunately, that is the case, but it's the truth. And at the end of the day, we all have to make a choice. And that choice is going to be, all right, so what are we doing with our budgets? What are we doing with our income? What are we doing with our savings? What are we doing with our extra time? It may not even be spare or free time. Whatever time we have available during the day, how can we use that to improve our situation financially? Because we know that there are forces out there that they're gunning for us, okay? No matter what, they want their pound of flesh, right? So I actually came across a video yesterday, Taylor Bell, and she, being a full-time YouTube content creator and doing really well for herself, decided to go back into the corporate world. And she actually shared some really inspiring advice for that. And she goes, look, make this employment, this job, transactional, and basically use this for your own advantage just as much as, if not more, than theirs. It's not just a job. It's not just a paycheck. It's an opportunity for you to build and connect and network and create something for yourself moving forward. The company employs you and they pay you a nominal fee or whatever it may be, a variable fee, commission, bonus structure, total compensation, whatever it is. You're going to do a job for them. They're going to receive benefit from that job you do over and above what they pay you, but that's not where it should end. You should also be using that as an opportunity to build something for yourself, which is pretty much exactly what I did, which finally finalized in 2017, is I used the career that I had been in for 10 years plus as a way to build what I wanted to build for myself moving forward. It wasn't just a job. It was a means to an end of connecting and networking and building a foundational base, gaining more knowledge and information and connections to ultimately move on to the next phase of my life that I really wanted to do. And then from there, continued on and expanded. And here we are today. And we're still working on some new and fun and exciting things behind the scenes of what's to come next. But that's just it. And what comes next could include me being an employee at some point in time, for the sole purpose of using that employment as an opportunity to receive what I want out of it more than just a paycheck, while giving the employer what they want out of it too, but knowing that at some point in time we're going to part ways and I'm going to continue on and you're going to have to find someone or multiple someones to replace me for the job that I was hired to do. If you guys want to know more about that, if you want to have further conversations, more in depth going into this, then by all means, feel free, like I said, 100% free to subscribe to the channel. So just click that button. It might be there or it might be there. If you're watching it on TV, you'll have to use your remote and click on it and then, hit subscribe. But either way, it's 100% free to subscribe. Look forward to having you guys around. Love having these talks and conversations with you. Any comments, anything you want me to discuss in the future, drop them down below. Make sure you check me out on all my other channels and on my socials. Channel memberships are available. And until next time, you guys take care. Be safe. See you real soon. Bye.